So, and his hand was pretty severely injured. Now, I looked up the statute that they're charging some Occupy Wall Street activists, Justin and others, with, and I looked it up, and it's New York State Penal Code, statute 120.08. And I read the statute, and in it said that, it refers to assault on a police officer, or an emergency medical technician, or a firefighter, or a nurse. And I read that statute, and I thought for a second, and then I said, who is assaulting the pensions of firemen right now? Who is assaulting the pensions of EMTs and nurses, as well as teachers and other public workers? Who is it who is assaulting and taking food out of the mouths of the children of public workers in this state right now? Is it the Occupy Wall Street activists? No. No, the Occupy Wall Street movement is a movement about stopping the grinding wheels of repression right now and stopping this attack on all working people in this country. You know, it's very interesting, and it says a lot about the police and who they serve. So I wanted to take a step back for a moment also. There's so many things that I could say right now. We were there on September 17th, a small crew of us, and we really didn't know what was waiting for us, the small amount of Workers' World folks who went down on Occupy. We didn't know what was waiting. I mean, we went to Bowling Green Plaza, and we came up on that long escalator up into Bowling Green Plaza, all the time anticipating, what's going to be at the top, what's going to be at the top. We had no idea what was going to be up there. And when we got up there, we saw something. And you know how sometimes you get that electrical feeling, like this is the beginning of something? That's the feeling I certainly had on September 17th, 2011, when Occupy Wall Street began. The thing is, they really thought that they could get away with this. The bankers, the 1%, they've created a situation where for millions of youth, it's going to cost way too much to go to college. They're going to be in debt for the rest of their lives for trying to get an education. They've created a situation where it's almost impossible to get decent employment if you're young. They've filled the schools with cops. They've created this situation, and they were convinced that if they just dangled the latest iPhone in front of us, and if they had American Idol the next season coming up, that we were just so stupid. The young people were just so stupid. We're just going to put up with this, and we're just going to tolerate it. But one of the chants you hear at almost every Occupy Wall Street demonstration right now is aquí anticapitalista, or in English, the anti-capitalists are here, and that's really what's happening. The anti-capitalists are here. After years, we're young. I mean, we weren't there for the most of it. They talk about a period of reaction with Reagan and Bush and Clinton and all of this, the cuts and the destruction and the NAFTA and the destruction of welfare as we know it and the setting up of the prison industrial complex. People have been waiting. How long? When are people in this country going to wake up and start fighting back? Well, the anti-capitalists are here. Occupy Wall Street is here, and that's a beautiful thing. There are so many stories I could tell, but a couple of them, are coming into my mind. I was down in Union Square one day when the occupation was going on at Union Square in the spring in the lead up to the May 1st general strike. And while I was there, there was a young woman who was being, treated by the medics, and she had a couple broken ribs. And I asked her, I said, what had happened? And she told me what had happened, which is the night before, two of her friends had been pretty violently arrested. And she had stood there with her phone and videotaped, them arresting her friend. And so the cops, after arresting her friend, grabbed her, pinned her against a wall with her arms out. They took her phone, they deleted the footage, and then they started punching, and they started punching up. They're trained. They're trained about how to be vicious, how to really harm somebody, and they were trained to punch up and break ribs. She had 2 broken ribs, but where was she the next day? Was she, if someone broke my ribs, I tell you, I wouldn't be at a demonstration for a month. But where was she? She was there the next day with broken ribs at Occupy Wall Street. That's a real spirit. And I also want to think back to NATO because the NATO march. That was pretty amazing. Thousands of people came out to protest NATO in Chicago, and I remember along the march route, the whole way you saw the police standing there with their big sticks, the whole march, along the way, these big sticks, making clear, if you challenge, if you step out of the permitted parade route, we're going to club you, we're going to mess you up. But we get to the end site, and I see this crowd of 400 or 500 youth chanting, aquí, anticapitalista, knowing full well what's going to happen, and charging, NATO is east, and running at them. What kind of bravery is that? Julian Kleiner, who's here, he got his head pretty badly clubbed in, but what is it that makes people come back to the demonstration after having their ribs busted? And what is it that makes people charge into a line of cops with a big sticks? What is it? Well, I don't know what we can call it, but I can tell you it's the same thing that made Che Guevara, give up the prosperous life as an Argentine doctor and go and join with Fidel Castro in the mountains of Mayas and fight for the Cuban Revolution. It's the same thing that made thousands of Chinese peasants, or not Chinese peasants, but Chinese students in the cities give up what they had and go into the countryside and join Mao's People's Liberation Army that made the revolution. It's a spirit, it's a desire to live for something better than yourself. We're Marxists, we talk about economics, and it is in people's economic interest to fight against capitalism. But there's also something else. There's that great love, those feelings of great love that Che Guevara talked about. It's this willingness to go out and sacrifice and fight for something better and fight for something harder. That's part of the communist spirit. That's part of the communist movement, and that's a real part of Occupy Wall Street. You could go down the line, you can talk about their contributions, but I think probably the greatest contribution of Occupy Wall Street, in my opinion, is the insertion of the phrase, we are the 99%, and this understanding of the 99% and the 1%. Because it's not just in New York City that people are talking about the 99% and the 1%. It's in Utah, it's in Missouri, it's in Ohio, it's everywhere. It's in people's minds. We are the 99% and there's a 1%. There's a super rich ruling class with all the wealth and all the power, and we ain't in it. And it's time we fight against them, right? The fact that they inserted that into our minds, Lenin, in one of his writings, he said, the people will always be foolish victims of deceit and self-deceit in politics until they learn to see the interests of one class or other behind all moral, political, and religious phrases. That's Lenin saying that, until people view things not in terms of, this program or that program, Democrats and Republicans, until they start seeing things in terms of class struggle, until they start doing that, they're going to be deceived. Sam Marcy, who I never met, who was the founder of Workers' World Party, he would always tell us to, put your class glasses on. Well, I think millions and millions of people in this country have their class glasses on, and it's thanks to Occupy Wall Street. So, I wanted to just close, there's a phrase that Marxists have used a lot. They talk about expropriate the expropriators, because Zuccotti Park, they may say that it's owned by Brookfield Properties, and it is. Brookfield Properties, a small group of wealthy capitalists, has a sheet of paper in their hands that says, Zuccotti Park belongs to us. But who laid every stone in Zuccotti Park? Who poured the cement? Who cleaned Zuccotti Park? Who does everything? Who rested there during their hours? It was workers. Workers did everything. Workers made, own, and operate Zuccotti Park, but yet it's owned by a small group of capitalists. They expropriate what we produce. That's the nature of capitalism. We produce the world, we build every building, and the 1% and the capitalists own it. Well, that changed on September 17th in 2011 because it was expropriated back. They expropriated the expropriators. They took control of Zuccotti Park. They took control of a piece of private property, and they say, we, the 99%, or the advanced element among the 99%, has the right to take what is really ours. And that was an amazing thing, because when we talk about socialism and communism, we're saying that it's not just Zuccotti Park, it's the whole world. We have the right to own and operate all of the means of production, the banks, the factories, the big box stores. We created these things, and we have the right to own them. That's the communist, the revolutionary message. So another thing, I noticed that the headline in the New York Daily News on Monday, they said, "Chaos on Wall Street," which to us sounds great. I'm sure to everyone else it was meant to demonize and the movement. But I will say that, one of the right-wing bourgeois thinkers who, is quoted a lot and was utilized for fascism and all kinds of things, even he admitted, this is Friedrich Nietzsche, he admitted that one must be filled with chaos to give birth to a dancing star. Well, OWS is certainly a dancing star. It's an inspiration to millions of working class people around the country and around the world to start fighting against the super rich and to start thinking about a better world without a 1%, without racism, without their continued wars and repression around the world, and start thinking about what a better future for all of us might actually look like. So if the OWS people here get anything tonight, if they get anything from what I'm saying tonight, know that you don't have to agree with us. You don't have to be a communist. You might be an anarchist. You might be a liberal. I don't know what. We've got your back. We owe you a huge debt of gratitude, and we support you 100%.